Pick a card, embrace this, and unlock blockages. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you at your reading. Hi friends, my name is Crystal with Psychic MD. I'm here to do another pick a card. For those of you new to my channel, welcome, welcome. Appreciate your time. And for those of you that are repeat offenders, thank you so much for stopping by. Hope that everybody is doing well and finds exactly what it is that you are seeking. Get a little bit of good juju going here. And we'll get started. It's kind of cool. That's pine. Okay. So, your piles, your selection. Show me what pile number 1 needs to embrace. Show me what I need to see for pile 1. The hair. Embrace your hair. That's so cute. Okay. And I'll leave a picture of this because obviously they're not standing up for you. Pile number 2. What do you need to embrace? The seahorse with the word equality. And pile 3. What do you need to embrace? The sea turtle. Okay. With the number 8. So I will have a picture of these guys so you can make your selection, and I'll see you at your pile. Hi pile 1, my name is Crystal with Psychic MD, and I'm here to do your reading. You chose the hair. This beautiful card right here with cycles. And the number 31. Wow, from here it looked like 11. So number 11 could mean something to you as well. I'm going to go ahead and ring the bell here to clear out some energy. In 3, 2, 1. All right. So pile number 1, right off the bat, I feel like there's a repetitive thinking over and over, and you think yourself into a circle. You know that cliche, which winds up being pretty true. That's why it's a cliche usually. That talks about how we think ourselves into a circle, you know, overthinking, and then you expect a different outcome. Doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome is what I'm getting here. And you can't help but think. Breeding like bunnies. I mean, look at that, you know. So number 31 reduces to number 4. And I feel like this is more like generational. Oh, wow. Okay. Wheel of Fortune. I wasn't ready, but I was mixing and it flipped. So I'm going to say that this has to do with your generational line. And we're talking about, of course, it could be that throughout generations, it just seemed like with your family, it was important to have family, you know, family and kids, things like that, procreation. And with her eyes closed, I feel like there have been people, maybe even matriarchs, very much close and connected to the other side, trying to listen to the other side and trying to do good by. But I feel a little bit like these matriarchs were trapped a little bit in a cycle. The interesting part about this is that they were able to see that. So you could find yourself being someone who is currently trapped in a cycle. You could be a cycle identifier. But I'm here to say also that the Wheel of Fortune is telling us, because it jumped right out. It's like, okay, if you're not, and don't click off, because this is coming to an end. I feel like you are, in some way, some shape and form, a cycle breaker. This almost looks to me like it's a wheel on the on a boat, right? So it's like a navigational system, or it could look like a compass as well, which is quite interesting. And I feel like you've been able to see kind of the cycle kind of go up and down, or understand that about your family. And maybe they've been hammered into a certain, I want to say a certain bloodline has been hammered into a role. For example, I've had the women in my bloodline on the mother side wind up chasing love and chasing people. You know, it's like, love me, don't leave me, that kind of a thing. And it just wind up chasing like the wrong people, or chasing in general. It's like out of an energy of almost like that's their mission or whatever. That's our mission. And I feel like this is, you know, we've procreated, we've had children this way and whatnot, but we have in the end not experienced like what we wanted. So with the Wheel of Fortune, I feel like that cycle with a 10 is ending, and that is confirmed with the World right here. I feel like you are a cycle breaker, and the fact that you've been able to identify it. But this time, what separates you from your ancestors is that you've been able to separate it, identify it, and do something about it, which is really quite beautiful. Now, I do feel like this gives you quite a bit of anxiety. And honestly, I wasn't here to do like a love read at all, but I mean, you can't not do it with all these bunnies. I mean, how do these bunnies come about, right? Pile number one. So I feel like this has affected your stability, the way that you think, but also I feel like one thing that you've done differently from your ancestors and, you know, from your family line is that you've actually gone within and looked at things and made changes. And it could have been initially because it seems like she's in repose and almost like she's laying down. I get that feeling, and I forget who it was, of the lady in the water who's just laying down and laying in the water, basically dead. And it almost seems like you have undergone a lot of pain. I heard a lot of shame. And for some of you guys, a lot of, to be perfectly honest, brutality. Yeah, and that's coming through in here. And if this is your story, then, you know, I'm very sorry. That's inexcusable. And I mean, what does one say to something like that? There's nothing really for me to say as far as that goes. But I feel like this has caused you to really struggle and maybe stay awake at night. And, you know, the one thing that you are currently trapped in that I can tell you that would really help is the same thing that we opened with, is like doing the same thing, expecting a different outcome. So you're out of this cycle of chasing, I feel, and chasing a provider, chasing a family picture, chasing life through the four corners of the earth, no matter where you are, wanting that perfect family or that perfect spouse. And I feel like for most of you guys, it begins with the spouse and with the family. Now you can have, there's a bunny on her head, a hair on top of her hair, which is really interesting. And you could have somebody who is near and dear, like maybe you have a couple of children, but you're worried about one particular one. And that could be a thing for you if you are a parent, right? Mother, father, either way. But I'm going to say that, you know, with the Force popping up, this definitely talks about your stability and your family line. The Four Ridges is here, and then we have the Four of Swords here, which, why does this always look to me like a 3? And I went through this, okay, that's why. Because it's one sword here, one sword here. So it is the Four of Swords. I always look like it's 3 of Swords. Anyways, moving on, you have the 9 of Pentacles, the coins coming through right here heavily. And I feel like part of that is that you've had to worry about money, how you're going to provide for yourself. And if you have been stuck in this, I need like a partner, or I need stability, or I've had children, my partner wasn't there, you could have, you know, this could be a family where just the parent was absentee, one parent, or maybe you've had your bouts with that as well, has been absent in your children's lives, and, you know, for whatever reason. So I feel like you have one child that is on your mind heavily. Now, if you don't have a family right now currently, this could definitely be, yeah, that you're waiting to have a family. And it's addressing the same issue that the rest of the people in this reading is. It's basically, you know, you're looking for your, for your foundation to be completed. by someone else, and for maybe somebody to be a provider. And perhaps it's this waiting game of, okay, I've done all these things, and when are my ships going to come in? When are the spices coming in from India? And when are the bolts of cloth going to come in so I can really enjoy making new attire and having clothing for my family? Or maybe you're at the very beginning stages, and you're wanting for a partner to come through. Let's just see what these say. I wasn't intending again on using these, but these seem to be kind of like love cards. I don't know. So show me what I need to see as far as that part goes. These are so awkward to shuffle because they are ginormous. I have really big hands, okay? And yeah, anyways. So pile one, what do I need to see about a potential partner or that? And please don't be chasing anybody. That just winds up being like a magnet where you flip it over and they just wind up repelling one another. And it just doesn't do any good. Now, by the way, I've been there, done that. So no judgment there. No judgment there. The moon. So there's a lot of things for you to uncover. And with the moon, I feel like this is stating even by the next moon cycle, I feel like you're going to be in touch more with your own intuition, with your own gut feelings. Here is the home we're talking about. Look, you can't make this up. I'm going to zoom in here. Even this little girl, this person is like holding her hands up like, oh, please, this is what I would love as a home. Happy wife, happy life. I mean, that's what we've been told, at least in the US of A. That we should be aiming for, right? And sometimes that's just not everybody's fate or everybody's desire or destiny. And then we have the loyal dog pointing to the past. So I feel like there is a need to kind of even write up the cycles of, and if you don't believe me, I mean, sit there and draw up what has transpired between your grandparents and how was that relationship and their parents and your parents and so on and so forth. And I think that you're going to see a cycle where the home was the dream, which most of us have that dream, and there is no shade again on that. But I feel like there's just this miss, this creepy miss, and this could be a lot of like negativity, like negative words being spoken in the home. But also, I almost feel like these poles right here look like flags to me. All of a sudden, it's like red flags being formed, but in such a way that's just weird. A red flag that looks cozy and comfortable, like, oh, if I had somebody to support me or somebody who is a partner who would be, balanced and who can share in the responsibilities, or, this is like what I truly want. But honestly, and then you could have a deep connection to that crystal that has all the flowers on here. I think it's like a chrysanthemum, blah, blah, blah. That crystal, I feel like I have one I want to show you. Yeah, please hold if this reaches that far. And if not, hang on. One moment, please. This is where things get elaborate, okay? But I feel like it's hard to do a reading and not show you exactly if I have on hand what Spirit wants to show you. So this is the crystal that I'm talking about. Now this crystal, I bought it and I was so in love with it, and then it broke. And I know, most people say you have to bury it or you have to release it back to the wild or whatever the case may be. No, I chose to glue it because it's so beautiful and it feels so good in my hands. Now it'll never be the same, of course. And so you could do a little bit of research. Oh, I gotta close this window here. On what this stone would do for you if you feel led, okay? But I'm going to say that, you've done a lot of daydreaming with the Seven of Cups, and it's a little bit time that we come back to earth and really find out, is this my dream or is this other people's dream for us? Now, we can continue these cycles, but it's going to be very important. I feel like you are a cycle identifier, by the way. I think I said that already. But it's going to be very, very important for you to identify the cycles in your life. And if you're kind of dubious and not really sure if you feel led to, again, jot down the family cycles of your lineage. And I think that that's going to be quite the eye-opener for you. And I feel like you're also, with this mist right here, I think that you could get quite nostalgic and caught up in things. But I want to kind of challenge that a little bit. And I want to say, who said that this is the American dream, but television and movies that we've been fed and crammed down our throats, and repetition that we've seen throughout our family lineage, and largely because of other people telling us that this is, what's important. I don't feel like that path is for all of us. And there's nothing wrong, again, with that path if that's something that you truly want. But I would say let's examine this a little bit closer and get some truths out of it, because that would help you quite a bit. What else? Embracing your truth. Yeah. I feel like there needs to be a embracing self-discovery and embracing your own cycles. How have you participated in this cycle? Because girl, guy, I've done it. Okay. And I feel like that is ending for you. And I feel like this is saying with the wheels right here, you're successfully graduating from that. The more that you go in, the more that you meditate. Meditation doesn't have to be, yay, slay. Look, change. I understand that nothing can grow or evolve without movement. Yes. But prior to movement, we need to make wise decisions on said movement, right? So I think that things will happen quickly for you in a really good way. I think that there just needs to be a little bit more meditation, a little bit more grounding, and a little bit more of an assessment as to why do we want these things? Is it because we've, seen that that's the American dream? If you're in the US, or if you follow movies, that's what we've been fed. It's like Cinderella losing her shoe. Somebody has to come find you, right? And it's like, hey, no shoes lost here, but nobody's come found me. And that could be the thinking. And it gets to be really unrealistic. And especially in this day and age where people are more to themselves, more withdrawn probably than ever, but more social over social media than ever. So close and yet so far, right? So you could be having those feelings, but I would definitely urge you to do some examination on your own cycles and extend that a little bit to your family lineage and ask some questions, because it's kind of fun to, find out how people met and what happened and what transpired. But I feel like you're going to find quite a bit of chasing and thinking, maybe even old school thinking, like this has happened in my lineage where people are like, well, I have a kid by them, so they're with me, that kind of a thing. And it doesn't work. These people have wound up not staying around for whatever reason. I can go into my family lineage. Maybe I will at some point. I mean, we're talking, people that hated the other person, the other partner, and like deliberately broke them up, and witchcraft and all sorts of wild things. Now, also amethyst could be very healing for you as well, but I feel like there's a lot of roots that you have yet to uncover. And so really consider what it is that you're pining for, because I feel like there's an element of I desire and I can't let go, and this is what I want. And I'm trying not to downplay at all what you want, but I would suggest looking deeper into it, okay? And what is it that this house represents? And are you trying to place something that maybe perhaps you didn't have? Because if this describes your story, then your family lineage could have been like an absentee father, absentee mother, or somebody who is always chasing the other parent and it just did not go well, right? Yep. And to end your reading, I have the Queen of Coins right here, this incredibly beautiful queen. Now, to be honest, she was not my first love as far as the queens go, because she's very grounded. She's very earthy. And I don't want to say she's a quiet queen, but she's extremely observant. This is a queen of abundance, by the way. I mean, look, she's like, I know how to make, I heard Herkimer, is it Herkimer? Diamonds? Yeah, I know how to make diamonds, and I know what is going to prosper. And I feel like this queen is underrated. This is the underrated queen. So this is the one that people come to for comfort, for love, for direction. This is a queen that people come to for financial advice, for listening ear, emotional support. And this is a queen that is a salt of the earth, that she will go and, create these beautiful gardens and grow her own foods and things like that. So it can be bits and parts of this, but I feel like ultimately this is going to be you. And again, I read energy and not sex. So I'm going to say that something to do, if you look at Herkimer diamond as well as, I think this is a chrysanthemum stone. If I remember, I will ask somebody who really knows and link it. These are so beautiful. Excuse the glue going across it that mars its beauty. But yeah, I feel like this is you, and you are going to know exactly what is solid and what it is that you can bring to the table. But also, I feel like this is the queen that attracts and builds over time. This isn't somebody who chases. So with that, I feel like you have these the beautiful hair, by the way, is your antenna to spirit world, okay? And I feel like whether you have hair or not, okay, some of us don't, some of us do, no judgment there. But I feel like this is you getting into meditative state and contemplation and really get your downloads from spirit, spending a little bit of time in the sunlight will really help this as well. And you could, again, be all about the herbs and things like that. I don't know. I mean, I don't get into the whole, you could be somebody who smokes. Or does microdosing, or I don't know. But regardless, I'm just going to say challenge your foundation on what love is for you and embrace that and take a look, because I think that you're going to really shock yourself at the power that you have and the power that you're actually giving away and differing to other people. Okay. And I think that that's going to be the main thing, because I feel like once you discover like who you most authentically are and the power that you bring, and I'm not saying, oh, be a bad bitch and be a bad dude and you can go, win or do whatever. You can, but I'm saying find your balance and your power within, so that whatever it is that I heard objectify, whatever it is that you are looking forward to or trying to attract or magnetize is something that is equitable and balanced and healthy. And that you're doing it out of a real reason that you have actually thought through and not just a knee jerk or something that's been fed to you, okay? I feel like a little bit with that, I just got to say it, and I know I'll probably lose some people, but oh well. I feel like a lot of this too has a lot to do with like marketing, Disney. It has a lot to do with like Fantasyland, and it's not like, I'm not saying I don't believe in love and things like that, but I feel like the way that we go about it, the way that we're taught, and we're not taught anything except for by movies, right? Did your parents sit down and have a real talk with you? No. And then I'm going to say, did they emulate things for you in a way? And I'm going to say in your case, no, because I feel like there's a lot of alone time being spent, a lot of loneliness, and a lot of seeing your partner's lonely, and maybe your grandparents, doing their own thing and never really having like a real bond. That's the feeling I'm getting. So anyways, utilize that and however you see fit, but things are changing. The Wheel of Fortune is always things are going to get better. Much love to you. If you like this kind of reading, please do give me a like, share, comment, subscribe. Until next time, namaste. Pile number 2, welcome to my channel. If you are new, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping in. And for those of you that are repeat offenders, thank you so much as well. I really appreciate all of you. And I hope everyone receives exactly what it is that you are seeking. Pile number 2. This is ironic. I had to read a little bit from the book because I want to make sure that I was getting it right, even though I'm like, nope, read it intuitively. So the number 14 right here, you could be somebody who's watching both pile 1 and 2 thus far. I have equality with the seahorse. I have a thing. I love seahorses. I feel like they're little baddies, okay? And I feel like with the seahorse, this talks a little bit about your spirit guides and people around you maybe that have crossed over from the other side. But the interesting part is I have to redo this because you can't make this up. This, look, right in the book. If you don't believe me, right in the book, okay? The seahorse, I'm going to read it off camera though. So, seek equality in relationships, in particular intimate ones. You'll attract what you resonate. You can decide your future. Hiding from our fears is rarely a good strategy. It is time to ensure that domestic and emotional labor in your world is shared equally. And so look at this. I feel like for a lot of us, this is just stating, I'll look at this and move it off camera, that we have had a lot of imbalances as far as all of our relationships. And it could be, I was just talking to a friend last night about this, and this crashing of the tides, okay? I feel like this expresses a lot of maybe illusion, but also the way that she's like self-protective, kind of hiding, her heart chakra, actually all of our chakras almost. And then this thing coming out behind her almost feels a little bit like ominous and threatening. And I feel like it's almost like she's very innocent and wanting to give. And I had this discussion with a friend of mine last night about giving to people. And giving to people specifically out of loyalty. And out of loyalty, maybe it is old friendships out of loyalty for a title, like a boss, okay? And out of loyalty, and we're talking maybe familial, all sorts of loyalties. And I feel like it's going to be time for you to really question, what am I loyal to and why? And are these people loyal to me as well? Okay. Because I feel like right here, you've done a lot of giving with a white outfit, the white dress. I feel like this is a desire. It's like, I just give and I have a lot of purity and I want to give. And I feel like you're really spiritual. But you're giving to the wrong people, and you are a magnet for people who are takers, right? It's almost like that narcissistic beacon, if you will. And I don't mean that things are your fault at all, but I feel like I want to call a level of awareness, right? Because the number one, we have 14 right here. It reduces to 5, a lot of changes coming your way. But with the number one, I feel like this is your personal power, how you portray yourself to the world. And so far, I'm an overgiver. I feel like if you were to ask 5 people around you, they would say that you just give unconditionally. Unconditional love is great, but so is reciprocal love, so is equanimity, so is equality, so is self-respect and respect for others, right? And so I'm going to say that right now, what could be stirring and churning in you, and maybe what's going south, I'm going to say south, and your relationships overall, is that you have this thing of overgiving and you're not being given to. Now, the problem with that is, and do I think tit for tat? Absolutely not, okay? I don't think that we have to be people that just give and expect, okay, I gave to you. Oh, okay, I paid $20 here, so you pay $20 there. Okay, well, I went down to the store and got you this, so it's your turn to go down. It doesn't have to be that way. I'm not talking a petty heart, and I'm not talking a desire to hold people to a standard where you're always looking at checks and balances. But I do feel like you personally, specifically, have a need to look at the big picture and evaluate. So what you need to embrace is evaluating your relationships, okay? So we're getting a little bit deeper here. And your relationships, I feel like, have been out of balance for quite some time. People are used to taking. And it's caused, like, I heard a cesspool in your heart. I feel like it's caused a lot of drama in your heart, a lot of like agony and a lot of pain and a lot of tears even, and a lot of like, I need to protect myself, like I don't know who I can trust. And I'm going to say that first of all, you have these batty seahorses right here. And I feel like the seahorses definitely protect you. This is your intuition. This is like, I catch myself when I say, oh, hey, I can, and then stop and think about it. So I feel like this is going to be a time when not only are you going to start exploring or even toying with the idea of what I'm saying, because you could reject it automatically. Of course, you can do whatever you want. But I feel like for a lot of you guys, you are going to start toying with this idea and think, wow, is this how come, things kind of go, yeah, you're going to give this a shot for most of you. And I think that this is going to, wow. Okay. Pile number 2, I'm getting a ton of messages and downloads right here. And I meant for this to be short. And you know what? I just cannot do it. I'm not a short reader. I'm trying really hard, but they always wind up being like 20 minutes. And that's like my short reads. So pile number 2, I'm going to say that you have an incredible loyalty. And I feel like you have changed and morphed into whatever it is that other people want in order to fulfill their needs. Now, for some of you guys, this is 18 plus now. I feel like this is sexually. You could have given to people and they're like, oh, hey, I want, and you could have given in that way. And that's a form of like disrespect to self and self-abuse, and never mind other things that are going on around you. So, but I also feel like you could be overgiving to the point that you feel like a fool. And this was really kind of the heart of the discussion I had with a friend last night. And I'm like, look, it just appears to me like I realize that I do this, that, and the other for people that kind of come out of the woodwork in order to support them. And my giving is typically not financial. I'm not there. But it's emotion, it's acts of service, it's acts of love, it's words of affirmation. I feel like that is my love language, because I don't necessarily ask. I'm like, I don't want things. I want to know, what you think, and I want your heart, and so I give in that way. We all give with what our love language is. So embracing the idea that maybe perhaps the reason why sometimes you feel foolish and you feel left like you have to kind of curl up in this position. And I'm going to stay, oh my gosh, I have so many ideas and thoughts. So, okay, reel it back. One example that I can give you is once upon a time, I gave someone a gift, like for Christmas, and it was a pretty expensive gift. And it was a big deal to me because, again, finances, but someone snapped a picture while this person was like unwrapping a gift. And they unwrapped the gift, and the look on their face was smugness. And it was a combination of smug and leering and conquest. In the picture, I actually folded a little bit within myself, and I right away protected my heart chakra. It was instinct, and somebody happened to snap a picture right during these moments, and it was captured all in one picture. So I'm going to say that I, at that point in time, felt like a fool. I felt like I'd been played. I felt like I knew better because my intuition said, nope, don't. And I did. Yeah. So if you're one of those people that you even give regardless of what your intuition says, then this is your pile. Okay. And this could be many different forms. This could be money. This could be emotions. This could be support. This could be simply listening to people who would never, ever listen to you. This is people who don't check in with you, express no formal loyalty to you, and yet you have this idea, this ideology, and this way about you that they know that you're going to be there for them. Now, I feel also that you're very, very close to spirit, and I feel like you're incredibly sensitive and incredibly loving, and that does get taken advantage of, okay? And I think that people can see that clearly, like miles away. And sometimes you go through periods where you're completely shut off and you want to like protect that, and then you're completely like standing there in white, not exactly like a bride, but like, hey, I'm so innocent, take advantage of me, kind of a thing. And so I feel like what you need to embrace is really your relationships and the balance of give and take and the equality in that system that you have set up, because we train people how to treat us. And this is something that I'm personally undergoing right now, just to be totally transparent. Let's just overshare on the channel. Why not? We'd love to. So I'm going to say that, going back to number 4 right here, this is about your stability. And I feel like this has rocked your stability for a long, long time. I feel like you have been made a fool of, or feel like you've been made a fool of. But also people laser fix on you that are really nefarious, okay? And I feel like there's a different way that we can go about this. You can retain your innocence, your closeness to spirit, and your desire to give, because I feel like that is ultimately, excuse me, who you are. And spirit would not change that for anything. See, this is your connection to pile number 1, by the way, because your fortune is changing. If you were to embrace this and just the idea and say, what about, okay, do I have a habit, a cycle of just overgiving? What is going on here? But back to that conversation that I keep popping in and out of, oh my gosh, I hope you guys are understanding me, because I'm like, maybe you're feeling all over the place too, and it could be with all of this like emotion going everywhere. Emotion rocked the ocean, right? And we see that in all of the water everywhere. But, evaluating these friendships, these relationships that you overgive to. And it's like, wow, I haven't heard from that person since 1999, huh? Just like Prince, the song, right? But, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, hey, I really need someone to talk to. And I'm not saying don't do it or whatever. But yeah, they're here for a good time and not a long time. These people don't check in to see how you're doing. They don't really have an interest. And if they do check in, it is very much like, oh, wow, okay, well, how are you doing? Doing good? Good? Huh? And I'm just seeing 1111 on here. So they could kind of like rush it. Their apathy could be incredibly apparent. And I feel like with that, you are making some major changes with the loyal dog right here. This is stating that you are heeding warnings, okay? And your warning system is on alert. And maybe that's why things are a little bit chaotic on the inside. I don't think that people really know exactly what is going on with you, but that is exactly, I feel like you can lead this back to inequality of relationships. You could have somebody laser focused on you currently. Now, with these little baddies, these little MFers I heard in my mind, I feel like also the seahorses, they can, they carry babies. They could be, I think they turn male into female. I don't know, something like that. But they're also little fighters. And I feel like Also, you could have a warning system within you that before you commit to anything, yeah, hold back and kind of reassess things and take a look and see if this is a good time, number one, if this is a good thing, and if the person that's really needing whatever for you, like a listening ear, I mean, don't feel obligated is my point. You're not here. You're not the buffet so everybody can take from. All right. So there has to be an equal give and take of energy, and you're finding a balance at last. I feel like you're going to start holding back a little bit on this good old times. And the good old times have to be good for everybody, not just other people around you. So I feel like that is what's ending. This also, the Nine of Swords can be something that has caused you a lot of drama, a lot of trauma, and a lot of anxiety in the middle of the night. So, lesson to self is you have a lot of gifts, you have a lot of wisdom, and people love that you're connected and loving and so connected to the other side. But bottom line, do not give that for free to just any Tom, Dick, and Harry. It's going to be very important that you make a good analysis right now and decide what is good for you and also good for other people. And can you do this? You don't have to. You're not required. Simply because you're close to spirit doesn't mean that you're an open vessel for everybody to take from, okay? So you're not here to heal the world, but you can, give to people who you deem fit. And I feel like there's just that need to reevaluate. Okay, this person in my family who always wants, they always come around when they need this, that, and the other, or that coworker who always wants a listening ear. And yet, the last couple of times that you needed to talk, they were very flippant and had no time for you whatsoever. Or, even that boss who really loves to share their own life with you and get advice or what they need, even if it's just a comforting ear. And yet they're nowhere to be found when you have to kind of share your own life and things. So I feel like that's what is being unpacked. And then you're going to look and travel lightly. I think that you will make an assessment, a judgment, and your judgments are correct, by the way. So I feel like the next challenge after that is going to be, how do I set these boundaries? Because these people are used to it. And honestly, it's withdrawing. It's withdrawing, because I just had another situation where, somebody wanted to share with me that they were having an emotional time. And I'm thinking, wow, you've been nothing but snarky and, like condescending with me. And yet I'm the one that's supposed to listen to you because you're in your feels. Interesting. And my character was automatically like, I wanted to fulfill that role because that's who I am. But now I'm kind of like, that's not my responsibility. And that's not a real friendship. That's not reciprocal. That is incredibly out of balance. I'm not saying that you cannot meet those needs because you serve spirit, I feel. That's who you are fundamentally. But I am saying that, there's a need for people to experience, a little bit of your energy withdrawal, a little bit of, if you're here for a good time, then you can keep it moving because when I've needed things, you're nowhere to be found, or you've made light of my pain, or you haven't been the listening ear for me, or when I've been in need, you're nowhere to be found, or you simply don't pop up and do any check-ins like, oh, hey, how are you doing? There's no interest. Once that their needs are taken care of, then they just pack up and move. And it's very easy for them not to look back. And I feel like, that's where you have been, and that is what you need to embrace to make the healthiest next glow up, the next level up, and also to help your internal dialogue to calm down, this anxiety to calm down. And I feel like you're going to feel so much more empowered that, you can say no to this person who appears intimidating, or they're always entitled is what I'm getting. So we have the Six of Swords. You're moving away from energies like this. Not only are you not going to be giving to them, but I feel like you're packing lightly. You're saying no. And you don't have to, if you're not strong enough, or, a lot of our communication is nonverbal. And so that's going to be a great tool for you to kind of explore and get a little bit more savvy with, a nod and, I'm really sorry to hear that. Have a nice day. I don't know. I haven't refined this part of myself, obviously, because we're all, hopefully we should all be growing and changing and learning all day, every day. Well, But anyways, if you like this kind of reading, Please do give me a like, share, comment, subscribe. Don't allow your brain to be an enemy, and don't allow people to take from you what is not theirs. It has been given to you for a reason. And I feel like you are a powerful healer and a lover, and we want to see you sticking with that. But also we want to see you in turn nourished and given to and respected. And that is my intention with this reading. Much love to you, Pile 2. Until next time, namaste. Hi, pile number 3. My name is Chriselle with Psychic MD, and I'm here to do your reading. If you missed the intro, for those of you new to my channel, thank you so much for stopping in. And for those of you that are repeat offenders, I really appreciate your time. Pile number 3, you chose the sea turtle with stability. I love how this child is just sleeping on top of the turtle. It's so dreamy, literally. So pile 3, what you need to embrace right now is, yes, things may seem at a standstill. Things may seem to be going at a snail's pace or a turtle's pace, if you will. I feel like your burden has not been light. You've been carrying the weight of the world. You've had many, many changes with the death card jumping out for you. Many changes. I feel like you've seen a life change in major ways. You could be an observer. And the first thing, even before I start rolling the camera, is INFJ. I almost feel like that could be you guys. It doesn't necessarily have to be. That's for the Myers-Briggs. But that's what I heard. So I am just reporting. Now, I also feel like this has a global view of things. You could be looking at the world and saying, what in the heyday, right? What is going on? You could be seeing how, in the end, we are barely one step ahead of animals. I mean, I feel like, you know, with the 2 heads severed here, I feel like you could be looking and thinking, how can people do that to each other? Now, if you're not looking at a global aspect of it, I feel like this is still your read, because fundamentally, we could be looking at other people and thinking, wow, I can't believe that, you know, this person would betray the other person like that, or how we treat each other. Something about how we treat each other is fundamentally feeling unjust, or you could be feeling a little bit like in despair. But also I feel like you are someone who can dive really, really deep into things. I feel also, this is my pile. I think pile number 3 is wind up being like my conspiracy pile, okay? And that is a coin, by the way, invented by the government to discredit as well. But if you actually go on their website, I get tired of saying this. If you go on their website and just really look through their things, you're going to find some things that are really shocking. I mean, why would they put money into mind control and any of the paranormal stuff or remote viewing, you know? I mean, millions of dollars. But it is a corporation. And anyways, I digress. So I'm going to say that you could be carrying someone on your back right now that is near and dear. It could indeed be a child. You could be a parent or someone that you feel like you have to treat very tenderly and allow them. Oh gosh. Okay. Check how deep this is. I feel also that you are somebody who carries other people who are deeply asleep, who haven't woken up to the fact that, you know, the good old US of A is a corporation, and how when you get a birth certificate, if you want to look up straw man and find out all the wonderful things that's really all about. I mean, quite shocking. And there's a reason, you know, why we have birth certificates. And pretty much it is an ugly place to see everything. It's an ugly perspective, but I feel like it is a truth. You can look things up yourself, but I feel like you're already in the thick of things, okay? So I feel like you have surfaced, and maybe you might be weary. Maybe you might even feel physically old, even though you're not. Maybe emotionally, mentally, spiritually, you're feeling tapped out because you're carrying the weight of the world, but also the weight of other people who are completely unawake and they're in repose, sweet repose. And maybe you're somebody such as myself, like, I wish I just didn't know. And honestly, sometimes I do feel like I wish I didn't know. Because it winds up being, well, does this make things any better? And I do go back and forth, but would I want to just have no clue once again? No. So you could be wrestling with those ideas and those thoughts. And I want to say that the world has radically changed for you in the way that you perceive things, in the way that you see things, and how people are in it for the long game. And inherently, we are selfish beings. When we look at even like animals, it's an insult to even compare them to us because, we are strategists and we do things for greed and for money and for power. And I feel like most animals, if not all of them, do things for survival and for food and for, taking care of their own, but not in this way. They're not conniving. Okay, I digress. Here we go. You could have had somebody who has, I just saw this tea light go out, and literally it was brand new. I'm shocked that it just blew out right now. But you could have had somebody who has recently left your life, and that could be heavy on your heart, heavy on your mind, right? And they could have exited your life. They could have passed away. And if that's the case, then, what do I say to that? I'm very, very sorry about that. I feel like you could dream about this person. You could carry even their spirit. You could feel them around you. Okay. So that is a message for someone. I have the King of Wands right here. And I feel like typically you're somebody who is a mover and a shaker, and you are, not that you're not deep, but you're like, let's just go get it. Let's go, go, go. But I feel like some of that has been dimmed. Some of that fire has been kind of quenched by the depth of what you've discovered, by what you are understanding. And this turtle, to me, that, I feel like they're very ancient. A lot of them, they live to be very old. I don't know how long, but very old. And I feel like this is ancient knowledge and ancient wisdom. And I feel like you could be wrestling with that, wrestling with things, downloads that you personally are getting, with ideas that you are getting, with research that you are personally doing, with, how all of a sudden we have this huge pandemic, because I'm just going to call it that. And if I lose people, then oh well. But we have this great planned thing where all the leaders are singing Kumbaya and they're holding hands and they're really concerned about all of our welfare. That is just in itself a miracle, where they can't even figure out, housing for people that are on the streets and homeless, or can't take care of their own people, but we're, doing all sorts of wild stuff overseas. Anyways, I digress again. But I feel like you're just kind of waking up to that, and it has dampened your fire, because I feel like, maybe in some ways you were headed towards the same prototype, like I need to have my businesses and I this and that. Not that those things are not important, but I feel like you're looking at things from an ancient perspective, a different perspective. And you're like, wow, why am I working for the man? And even if I have my own business, is it important for me to be pouring maybe 14 hours into a job and a side job and a hustle so that I, quote, get ahead, and yet find myself continually financially sinking, or my family loses out on time with me, or, the things that matter the most are no longer things that I'm focused on, because I continue trying to make that currency. Yes, I continue making that currency, and the currency in itself doesn't wind up mattering. What does matter is the time spent away from all things that are important, all things that are viable. And what is important is that people want most from you is your time, your energy, your focus, your devotion, your connection, right? And you could be wrestling with those things currently, especially if you're newly awake. And I'm going to say that, no, you're not crazy. People may think you are, and people may, I feel like I get a lot of lurkers and things that, people like, what the hell is she going to say now? Like crazy things that are offbeat or off the written path, or unconventional. And you could be someone like that you break conventions right now. And I feel like you've had some really big tower moments, really big, maybe even a real, physical death in the family. But a lot of towers coming down, and just even thinking, what is this all for? So if I work 16 hours a day, does my family really benefit? And so we get to enjoy this like nice home and this nice TV and this AC, which in certain parts of the country you need, like Arizona. But in the end, I'm burnt out. When I come home, I'm grumpy, I'm exhausted. And then I have to get up and do it all over again. And so really, who benefits? And I feel like what you need to embrace is evaluating the give and take. And are you giving to things that matter? And is it almost like a balanced energy? Do you have enough to be able to share with others? And is it more about the money, or is it more about myself? Am I giving my attention where it belongs? Am I building and fostering those relationships? Am I spending time and being a listening ear, enjoying the things that I even currently have? All the things. I feel like you're looking at that. And I feel like for this pile, you might even be thinking more of the currency of money and the currency of love and just currency in general, and reevaluating things. I feel like you have been deeply disillusioned, and yet you have to function in a world where 90% of the people are still asleep, and people are still thinking, well, I mean, if you're into politics, which I'm not, but if you're into politics and you're like, oh, with the right wing and the left wing and all these political things, when it's a mere distraction, I feel like you could be waking up out of that and just being completely shocked to find out that the right wing and the left wing are wings from the same bird. And it really, in the end, doesn't matter. I feel like you could be somebody who is doing a lot of research, who is intent on finding out the truth. I feel like your third eye could be popping, you could be awakening, and I feel like there's some anger there. I'm not going to lie. I feel like maybe you could be thinking, wow, I mean, we've all been bamboozled. And Indiana, I think of this quite often with property, about property and homes and things like that. And it's almost like a setup for failure. And I used to think people that talk like that were crazy. Well, here I am talking all crazy, right? But I'm going to say that I feel like it's almost a thing where it is set up for failure, because you work in order to have, these beautiful homes, this property and all this stuff. And in the end, well, number one, when you die or things go awry, there's a job loss or whatever. Sometimes we're unable to make those payments, or we have to regroup and reconfigure and figure out, okay, how do I, especially in this economy and the way that things are going. And it's almost like a setup to, you think you own your house. That's my house. But unless it's completely paid off, it really isn't. It belongs to the bank. That's just a fact. The same thing with a vehicle. That's my car. Well, no, it's not. You're just kind of borrowing somebody else's car until, number one, you pay it off, or number two, it gets repoed, or you give it up, or whatever the case may be. So in the long run, I feel like you're looking at things from a higher perspective, a deeper perspective. And I feel like your soul could feel a little bit weary. And yeah, you could be feeling left out. Now, I'm going to say that if this is your narrative, your story, then I am definitely here with you. And I feel that to my core. It is very difficult to be around people who, for example, don't question anything but go along with the narrative of, what people are telling you to do, whether you take the clock shot or not, or what's on TV. And, when you bring it up to friends and loved ones, and they're like, well, I only took the clock shot or the stab, right? We all know what we're talking about, because I have to work, or because I have this autoimmune disease, or whatever the reasons being. And they can't see for a minute that they've already invented and patented, by the way, not only the disease or whatever, but they've patented the cures and all that. So it's just exhausting. And I feel like hang in there with me. I know it's exhausting. I know that some days you just want to turn and be done with it. But I feel like there is a great awakening. But in the meantime, you feel left out. Maybe you feel like you've been leveled, your illusions have been leveled, and you've had to re-examine, why am I doing what I'm doing? And there is a need for temperance. There's a need for healing. The star is healing and temperance is healing, which I'm going to say that in this period where your fire has been kind of quenched and maybe there's steam coming out, maybe you can see about things that you see, and it's difficult because no one else understands or relates. And in order to conduct a logical conversation, people are not willing to utilize their brains. They're still utilizing information that has been given via media, which is really propaganda and things like that, and not utilizing their own brain and looking at patents and, going down the rabbit hole and saying, well, these people are crazy, but what if there's some truth to it? What if there's merit to it? And what if things are not so kumbaya, hold my hand all through the world, we're all one, nobody's given a rat's ass before. And sorry to put it bluntly like that, but I mean, these people have been, fighting over territories and wars and at odds, seemingly. I'm going to say seemingly. But with the Three of Swords, I feel like you're waking up to major betrayals, okay? With these right here, they almost look like butterfly or bat wings right here. I feel like you're gaining clarity. You're seeing the betrayal. With the spider, I feel like you could be doing some research on the internet and things like that. But I also feel like you could even see how the internet has been something that has been also manipulated. And so I feel like you could be at this point where you're like, trust no one, trust nothing, unless you yourself do the investigating. And I feel like this is going to be a time where you can ask your guides for help. You can ask for it yourself to even have some really deep sleep and deep, yes, yeah. I feel like your ancestors are here to help you, by the way. And don't worry about money and currency and things like that. I feel like you're redefining those things. But in the meantime, even though your mind might be blown, your foundation completely shook, you might feel like you're completely out there and you might feel completely betrayed. And also that people in your circle, I heard love circle, that's weird, could totally not be waking up whatsoever. And it feels lonely. It does feel lonely, but I'm going to say continue doing whatever it is that you're studying, you're investigating and learning about. And I feel like the facades and the fallacies and the masks and the illusions are falling away and you're cutting through all of those things. Okay. So, and I know people might be pissed off at this and I get that, but somebody has to say it. So anyways, you, with the 10 of coins right here, I feel like you're going to be less engaged with the currency of the world per se, as opposed to like currency of spirit, and that will in itself balance you out. And one way to bring that down to the 3D is, okay, who has, like if you want to buy from local butchers, who can you connect with that you can buy it locally and things like that, instead of going through supermarkets and things like that where they are doctored up and food is literally poisoned and we're still purchasing it. Guilty of that as well, by the way. You could have so many thoughts and like wonder, am I losing my mind? And no, you're not. You're just finally seeing everything for what it is. And look at the eyeball right here. I mean, you have a lot of eyeballs going on. So people could be witnessing your awakening and thinking you're totally off your rocker. But remember that once upon a time, you thought people were freaking crazy too, until you started investigating. Now, I'm going to say that with the Nine of Swords, September could be important. But also, I feel like, winter and snow falling and things like that, wherever it is, whatever hemisphere, these are timeless, could be very important to you as well, as to like when you start seeing progress as well. It's going to be important that you don't internalize this. Try taking like salt baths. Epsom salt baths are going to be really good for you. Also, magnesium and vitamin D will help you with anxiety, okay? I've been on that regiment trying to help my anxiety. So I don't know. I'm not a medical doctor in spite of my handle, but definitely do what feels right to you and seek professional, quote unquote, help. All right. You could be feeling like things are at a stalemate right now. Like maybe you even have a mental block, or maybe listening to this, you're like, she's completely out of her mind. And yeah, maybe perhaps I am, but maybe there's a need to investigate further and don't accept things for surface value, because people are inherently evil and selfish. That's all I have to say. I hope that at least one person can really understand what I'm saying. But much love to you, and until next time, namaste.